Redacted tonight. This is the comedy show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. And yes, we'll get to the impeachment stuff in a minute. Keep your goddamn pants on, all right? I mean, you can take them off if you want, but I don't promise anything. But first, this past Monday, climate activists here in Washington, D.C. blocked intersections, jamming traffic, and pissing off a lot of people. It seems clear that when it comes to our impending extinction, no one cares, unless it means you have to sit in traffic for 10 extra minutes. There is nothing that upsets us more than being stuck in traffic, unable to get to the jobs we fucking hate. It drives us nuts. But these are the type of protests that matter, the ones that interrupt the flow of business, not the colorful marches where we all show up for 2 hours while the politicians go fucking golfing, okay? I'm not saying don't do this. I'm just saying our rulers don't care that you did this. It's like when you dress up a baby, you dress up your baby in a costume. I'm not saying you have to stop, but you're only doing it for yourself. Baby don't care. Baby don't care. But since I aim to please, here's a point for those of you who don't give a shit about the climate crisis. The corporations that are screwing your life, pillaging your land, sucking your tax dollars dry through subsidies, and meanwhile paying you a warm can of farts an hour, those corporations are the same ones creating the climate crisis. In fact, just 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions. 100 asshole companies. That's it. That's all. And I bet their executives look like, you know, buckets of ass clowns, just with the little shiny shoes and socks with pineapples on them. How dare you? But it gets even worse. The report found that more than half of global industrial emissions since 1988, more than half, can be traced to just 25 corporate and state-owned entities. 25 corporations. They're killing us, they're smothering us, they're choking us, and not in the good, fun kind of choking you do in the bedroom. This is the bad kind, where you don't end up with an orgasm at the end. You get drought and hurricanes, and your baby ends up in a tree somewhere, okay? But they're malleable. Baby don't care. This is a tiny number of sociopaths who are making these decisions, and they don't even notice if we all march outside in fucking colorful hats. These marches are kind of like those rate your experience things at airports and restaurants. The buttons aren't even connected to anything, okay? The powers that be just know that you feel better if you think you gave your opinion. That is it. Although I will say, the last time I used one of those, I did get a response from the TSA at the airport, and I was only even halfway through taking a dump on the frowny face when the guys with guns showed up, so. Point is, there's too much money for these corporations to stop doing what they're doing. Fossil fuel companies risked wasting more than $2 trillion over the coming decade by pursuing coal, oil, and gas projects that could be worthless in the face of international action on climate change and advances in renewables, in turn posing substantial threats to investor returns. They have made a $2 trillion gamble that we will all keep using fossil fuels even as society collapses. So they don't just have a dog in the race. They have a goddamn elephant riding on top of a T-Rex riding on top of Mike Pompeo. It is massive. They are fully invested. And I realize that your average American, for the average person, you're scraping by. You're just trying to get your kids to eat, the dogs to poop, and the grandpa to shut the fuck up, right? This isn't your top concern, but your troubles are connected to the same corporations that are causing climate change. They control our governments and therefore our lives. As Tamara Pearson wrote, the CEOs making these calculated decisions are hubristic parasites with a fallacy fetish who treat wealth as a game, declaring themselves winners when they have more zeros than whole countries, while treading all over our magical habitat in their race for wealth. Spoon-fed elitists who are so white and male and wealthy that they aren't touched by the problems they create. Wait a second. Calling the ruling elite goddamn parasites it's offensive and it's rude and it's my line. I'll just have to stick with dick helmets, I guess. Although, she's wrong about one thing. They don't have to be white and male. Chris Hedges pointed out this week that President Obama said last year in a speech, American energy production, you wouldn't always know it, but it went up every year I was president. And you know that suddenly America's like the biggest oil producer? That was me, people. He's proud of the fact that he helped put the nail in our coffin. When these people don't think you're paying attention, they brag about this crap. The same way you or I sit around privately and go, man, you wouldn't believe how much weed I smoked last night. Well, our powers that be sit around going, man, you wouldn't believe how many regulations I gutted last night. And that's why Hedges titled his column, Saving the Planet Means Overthrowing the Ruling Elites. The corporations that are suffocating us in a blanket of global warming emissions are the same ones that run our government. They have bought off our politicians, the regulatory agencies, and the criminal justice system. It's one big incestuous fuck pile, okay? And you and I are not a part of it. We are the cannon fodder, the collateral damage, the chum. Until these corporations are stopped, our expiration date is set in stone. Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast is in Redacted tonight.
Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we've got our soul. Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we've got our soul.
Welcome. I'm Lee Camp. Now let's take the news from behind. Impeachment is seeming more possible for the top Oompa Loompa in the land. We've learned Trump has been pressuring the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden in connection to a Ukrainian energy company where Hunter Biden sat on the board. Does this mean Trump's corrupt? Absolutely. He's been corrupt since day one, all right? We have a law against enriching yourself with the presidency. It's called the Emoluments Clause. And the first thing Trump said when he walked into the Oval Office was, let's sell some fucking hats, okay? I'll make millions of dollars. We'll make a second one that says the Emoluments Clause can suck it. But whether Trump is corrupt or not, I don't know if the Democrats want to tout Joe Biden and his spawn as beacons of virtue. Immediately after we, the U.S., with Joe Biden as vice president, helped create a coup in the Ukraine with the assistance of the Nazis, because they're always down to party, Hunter Biden then got a $50,000 a month job on the board of an energy company despite knowing nothing about energy or about companies. So I'm sure it was on the up and up, you know. What was Hunter's resume again? Well, the New York Times tells us just months earlier, he had been discharged from the Navy Reserve after testing positive for cocaine. Now, I think your own drug use is your personal issue, but do you have any idea how much blow you have to do to get kicked out of the Navy Reserves? I thought most of what the Navy Reserves did was deliver coke to America. Thought that was their job. So Hunter Biden, kicked out of the reserves, falls ass backwards into a $500,000 a year job on a Ukrainian big oil board. Why do you think the executives wanted him on that board? Do you think it was for his gregarious personality? Or perhaps the fact that his motherfucking father's motherfucking Joe Biden? Anyway, I'm not saying Trump isn't corrupt, But the way the mainstream media is playing it, the Bidens are Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela, and they're skipping around the world, handing out fucking Tootsie Rolls to blind orphans or some shit. So there was a prosecutor looking into this company that Hunter Biden was a part of, and there doesn't seem to be any evidence that they were looking into Hunter Biden. But what does Joe Biden do? I'll let Joe Biden tell you what Joe Biden did.
And I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Son of a bitch. Well, maybe he was misquoted. Now, Biden claims he only sought to get rid of the prosecutor because the guy was corrupt. And I would believe that, except when was the last time Washington gave a tip of a turd if another country's leader was corrupt? Are you kidding me? Benjamin Netanyahu, Boris Johnson, Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, Duterte in the Philippines. We fucking love corrupt rulers. That's our thing. Hell, right now we're trying to force in the unelected Juan Guaido in Venezuela, and he's currently the center of a multi-billion-dollar corruption scandal. Corrupt officials, that's our pastime. We fucking eat them up like Tootsie Pops. So the idea that Biden was just bending over backwards trying to end corruption in the UK. Oh, I just can't stop the corruption. I work so hard. I'm up all night to get these incorrigible Nazis on the straight and narrow. But they just, alas, they continue with the skullduggery. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Anyway, moving on. Since our political leaders clearly aren't going to be spending any time, helping those in need for the next year or two, maybe science will. We have big news about 3D printers. They aren't just for printing guns and dildos anymore. Although I do love that those were the two first things we thought of, They had 3D printers on Star Trek, but they made food with them. We, on the other hand, the moment 3D printers exist, we're like, can you make a gun or a penis with that? Because those are the two things I can't get on the Walmart.com. And someone had to sit us down and go, you idiot! This technology can help with survival. You can't eat a penis. Well, not a plastic one. Anyway, 3D printers are now being used for good. Groups in Austin, Texas have started 3D printing tiny homes to help end homelessness. Each 500 square foot building takes a total of 27 hours to print. This is pretty badass, although I'm sure it sucks when the house gets jammed in the feed tray, But I should point out that the bigger problem with homelessness, though, is not a lack of homes. We have something like 6 empty homes for every homeless person in America. Our bigger problem is that our economic system is meant to keep a certain percentage of people miserable and destitute. Why else do you think millions of seniors across the country are going hungry? Nearly 8% of Americans 60 and older were food insecure in 2017, according to a recent study. That's 5.5 million seniors who don't have consistent access to enough food. And again, it's not that the country doesn't have food. A single meal from the Cheesecake Factory could feed a dozen old ladies for a year. I mean, the caloric value of IHOP's trademark fried chicken, waffle, bacon, cream pie, Oreo appetizer is the same number of calories Ethel is supposed to have in a decade. No, the reason 5.5 million American old people are going hungry is because, fuck them. What have they done for us lately, right? Yeah, you stormed the beaches of Normandy. Not recently, you didn't. Go do it again. Do it again and we'll talk. We have a national mental disorder called, fuck them. Fuck the homeless, fuck the old people, fuck the poor. That's unfettered capitalism. Plenty of money, plenty of food, plenty of houses, sitting empty, unused, and hoarded. But fuck them. And while we're on the topic of science saving us, I have new info on whether it can save us from mosquitoes, which are the world's deadliest animals, killing 700,000 people a year. Recently, we created genetically modified mosquitoes to decrease the mosquito numbers, and we unleashed them in a test city in Brazil. But instead of a big success, the plan to crush the mosquito population failed and may have actually made them stronger. God damn it! Who could possibly have imagined that Frankenstein mosquitoes could have unintended consequences? Well, I did, because I've seen Jurassic Park. Don't you idiots know by now that Jeff Goldblum is never wrong? Okay, never. Not only did the GMO mosquitoes end up breeding, which they weren't supposed to be able to do, but even more problematically, these crossbreeds may be more resistant to other forms of mosquito control, such as insecticide. Great. So now they're invincible mutants like Wolverine or Keith Richards, just running around. And we're spraying insecticides into our air and water and our faces, and it isn't even working. If the insecticides aren't killing the insects, but they're giving the humans cancer, they're not really insecticides, are they? They're fucking human-sides. Well, now we've only got one fucking choice. We have to 3D print a fly swatter the size of Texas. We have to go to a quick break, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you can now get live Redacted tonight at www.pluto.tv. It's completely free. And grab your free phone app as well. I'll be right back with a lot more. Welcome back. I'm still Lee Camp. As the rate of homelessness and evictions rise, a national coalition of housing density advocates who call themselves the Yes in My Backyard, or YIMBY movement, is calling for a rapid increase in real estate development. They claim to be progressives, but anti-displacement activists say it's just the developers and gentrifiers were getting a bad rap and needed to rebrand themselves. For more, we're joined by our Keeping It Real Estate correspondent and brand new Redacted Tonight member, Anderson Lee.
Hey,
Anderson,
Anders Lee here.
what are you doing with the tape measure?
Getting a sense of the community.
The community of my desk?
Yeah, it's a nice desk, very modern. I'm really getting kind of an urbanist vibe here. I just have one suggestion, Lee.
Okay, what?
Build 12 more of them.
12 more desks. What the hell would I need that for?
So we can create a built environment of desks. There are a lot of deskless people out there, Lee. We increase the number of desks in this community, a market for desks pops up, eventually the cost per desk goes down, and everybody gets to have a slick, luxury desk to park their game-changing, outside-the-box thinking, cutting-edge butts behind. It's a win-win.
Is this a metaphor?
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Because that's what the YIMBY movement is all about. Imagination, creativity. We are engineering a 21st century smart growth, tactically viral housing disruption economy that treats us not as tenants, not as homeowners, but as consumers. Finding a place to live, it should be like buying a Nintendo, a watch, or depending on the neighborhood, a bidet.
Okay. Enough with the tech startup jargon. YIMBY sounds like a nightmare yuppie version of Gumby. It makes you gag upon saying it. I don't need 12 more desks in here. It's insane.
Oh, you don't need them? Do we not need more immigrants in this country? Did my ancestors not need to come over on a Viking ship and raid this continent?
What does that have to do with anything?
It's the same thing.
What?
It's the same thing. Whether it's immigrants moving here or a new development project, the response from nativists like you is the same. Not in my backyard. I agree with Sonia Traus. She's the head of the Bay Area Renters Federation.
Barf?
Haha. Yes. Barf. Sonia has compared Latinx mission activists to xenophobic Trump supporters. And she stood by these comments. Refusal to build housing is anti-migrant, she said in these times.
You're really comparing gentrification to immigration. They're not the same thing. A house is not a person.
Oh, so a house can't be a person now? You tell that to my new investment property down in Austin.
Okay. Lovely. So who do you think this will benefit? Who will benefit from more new real estate? It won't be immigrants. It won't be poor people.
But it will be. Those are exactly the people who will benefit the most. At least in, like, the big picture.
The big picture. So in the short term, you want to build a bunch of luxury condos, and then eventually you claim the benefits will trickle down to everyone else, right?
Yes, it's like the expression, you know, if you want to make an omelet, you got to evict a few eggs.
This is not the solution. Housing shouldn't be treated as just another commodity. We need universal rent control. We need more eviction moratoriums. We need public housing.
Whoa. Like, look, that stuff sounds great in theory, but trust me, you don't want the government getting involved here.
Why the hell not?
Because then homes start getting this weird taxpayer-funded smell. It's abhorrent.
Anders Lee, everybody! Moving on, the FBI continues on their rampage to collect info on anyone and everyone. Occasionally, the courts fight back, but it is rare. For more on this raging controversy, we go to Redacted correspondent Naomi Garavani.
For over a decade, the FBI's counterterrorism unit had been investigating a news website called antiwar.com. But with that name, you shouldn't be surprised that the American government is spying on you. War is kind of their thing. And anti? Why such an aggressive stance against poor old war? Give war a chance. Get to know war. Dip a toe in. Just be prepared to lose that toe. Recently, in an unlikely turn of events, a federal court ruled in favor of an independent fringe news site's lawsuit against the FBI investigation. And the FBI memos, which describe the author's protected First Amendment speech, must be destroyed. Hooray! A victory for journalism. Still no money in it, though. A judge said, as with political spying throughout our nation's history, police scrutiny of First Amendment activity on the internet chills and deters expression in this critical democratic forum. This critical democratic forum? If anything, the internet could use a little more chill. I mean, once I tried bringing up one tiny issue I had to this symposium of people who cared so much about my opinion. Facebook friends, reply guys, and contrarian trolls, lend me your eyes that have been glazed over with blue light that you've been staring at all day. Is it too much to ask that when we compose our death threats, we not forget the difference between Y-O-U-R and Y-O-U''R-E. Ooh, a message. Oh, what? Jesus Christ. No respect for the English language. FBI memos accuse editors of the site, self-described peace activists Eric Garris and the late Justin Raimondo, of being agents of a foreign power. And that foreign power was Al-Qaeda. Sure, they're known for their peace activism. And behind every activist for good, there must be a darker force. Greta Thunberg was obviously under the tutelage of that great white shark who ate 3 surfers. Antiwar.com was labeled a threat to national security when Garris, one of the website's authors, passed along a threat to the FBI, which he received on September 12, 2001. The subject line read, "Your site is going down," and said, "Be warned, assholes. I'll be posting your site address to all the hack boards tonight. Your site is history." 9/11 was a highly emotional time for everyone. It was perfectly normal to threaten to kill someone. I mean, hacking with a computer. He just sounds well-adjusted. Concerned, Garris forwarded the email to the FBI field office in San Francisco. Garris heard nothing, but by January 2002, it turned up again, completely twisted around in a secret FBI memo entitled, "A Threat by Garris to Hack FBI Website." Yikes. So the FBI misinterpreted Garris and thought that he was trying to hack them? I guess I won't be telling the FBI about those guys who threatened to kidnap and marry me. They'll think I want to marry the FBI. And I'm done with men who go through my phone without permission. No one can know how many selfies I take. One FBI memo detailing Eric Garris's terrorist activity included the posting of an FBI watch list onto antiwar.com. Raimondo found that list simply by Googling one of the names on that list. All right, so maybe the FBI agent who was monitoring people on the internet was just not that good at Googling. He's probably that asshole who asks you, when is Labor Day? Or how many grams are in an ounce? Or which is the worst Cuomo? If you say Rivers, Google, we're gonna have a problem. As the sweeping powers granted to the FBI and NSA under the Patriot Act are set to expire in December, those agencies are arguing for Congress to reauthorize them. Thanks to leaks, we know the FBI are investigating Black Lives Matter and environmental activists under the guise of domestic terror threats. But those groups need not worry now. All they need is a easy 7-year lawsuit and a mere $300,000 in legal fees to challenge those investigations. And then they can have their First Amendment back. Reporting from FBI headquarters, this is Naomi Caravani, Redacted Tonight.
Here are your headlines from the future in 1 month, you'll read. Trump furious. He avoided grabbing all White House interns' asses, yet got impeached anyway. And in 2 days, you'll hear Democratic operatives pause rigging of 2020 primary elections to express outrage at corruption of president. That's our show, but I'll be performing live in Toronto, Canada, and of course here in Washington, D.C. Go to